Hi, friends. Welcome back to I'm Not Gonna Lie. I don't know if you guys can hear, but the birds are chirping so loudly out there. So that's always a good sign. Birds means messages. So, you know, it's a good sign. This episode is for you. So, anyway, I'm not gonna lie, honestly, this episode wasn't originally supposed to be about what it is. I had something completely planned out already. But last night I was doing, some work on my computer for my apothecary, and I just kept feeling like I kept having like this feeling or this tug to talk about the message that we're going to be talking about today. So I decided to switch everything around. And, that's what you do. And then I was having like 20 minutes of like technical issues, and then I was like, "Damn, some type of energy does not want you to hear this." And I always take that as a sign. Like when I'm doing my readings for my clients and stuff, I say if I start coughing or like I feel like my throat is tightening up or audio stuff is happening, it's usually a disturbance. Somebody doesn't want you to hear what you probably need to hear to help you. And that energy is very loud and it's very clear. So yeah, but anyway, we got all set up and we're ready. I do want to say if it may be a little bit too deep or concerning, but it is about not giving up on yourself and however you want to interpret that. So I just was letting everyone know if this episode becomes too heavy, definitely give myself a pause, go outside, touch some grass, open up the window. This is also a really good episode for a journal moment, which I think every episodes are great for journal moments, but taking notes, writing down some questions. I do have reflection questions for your journal that I wanted to share. I'm going to have those posted in the description below so you can actually like look at them. But it's just a way that I talk to myself and hold myself accountable on things and really heal and grow are really good, journal questions. So I wanted to share those with you guys. So now I'm rambling. But anyway, let's get into this. So I'm not gonna lie, grab some water, some tea, coffee, a cocktail, a mocktail, whatever time of day it is for you, and let's continue the conversation. So I wanted to talk about not giving up on yourself. And when I say that, I'm not necessarily talking about giving up on a business or a goal or a relationship. I'm talking about you, on ourselves. I'm talking about those seasons where life feels very heavy, the seasons where you tried in a way that maybe sleep doesn't fix it, seasons where you're showing up for everyone else, but don't really know how to show up for yourself. We all have those seasons, right? Where we feel unseen, unheard, overlooked, forgotten, or disconnected from the person you used to be. I think that maybe a lot of people are carrying that, or a lot of people are in that season, and that's okay. So that's probably why I was being pulled to talk about this. So let's talk about it. What's very doorbell? Okay, hold on. Okay, I am so sorry about that. So, oh my goodness, this is a message that needs to get out. And I'm so convinced. You guys, I was literally talking, my doorbell rang, and I've been having a hard trouble. Like, hold on, catch my breath because I just ran up all those stairs. Okay. Okay. So, as I was recording, my doorbell rung. And it means like there's someone downstairs with a delivery. And we have a lot of stuff that's coming to us. And here in Germany, sometimes, especially with the DHL, if you do not answer that door, they'll literally like leave, right? And they'll take your package and you'll have to go to the post office, pick it up, and you only have 7 days. So sometimes it gets a little like annoying because I'm like, just leave it outside, but whatever. So I run downstairs and he was like, no, 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 Miss Cupid, it wasn't for you. I was trying to ring someone else's doorbell, like, something like that. And I'm like, okay, so interference, there is complete interference to say all that. There is complete interference for this message. Okay. So if you're listening to all of this, and if I decide to keep all of this in, this message really is for you. And I really do hope that it resonates. Okay, so let's get back into it. So I hear it loud and clear. In the seasons of not really being able to show up for ourselves, right? But showing up for everybody else, we feel unseen, overlooked, forgotten, or disconnected from the person, that we used to be. And the seasons where you feel unseen, I think a lot of people are carrying that right now. And what's interesting is that sometimes from the outside, everything looks fine. You're still answering texts, you're still smiling in pictures, but eternally, something feels off. You can feel stuck, disconnected, and feel like you're pouring, from an empty cup, basically. Feeling like you're trying your best and somehow it's still not enough. And I think one of the hardest things that being an adult is realizing that nobody really talks about these seasons enough. Nobody talks about the moments where we're questioning everything, every little decision, every little choice. The moments where we're wondering if we're on the right path and we're just trying to have a moment of not quitting on, just trying and hoping and existing in life, quitting on believing things can get better. And if you're feeling that way lately, I want you to know something. You are not the only one. You are not broken. You are not failing. And you are definitely not behind. You are human. That's it. You're human. I think one of the biggest misconceptions about healing, growth, spirituality, and personal development is that eventually you arrive somewhere and everything becomes easy. But for me, that hasn't been my experience. Every level for me comes with the new challenges because every season is going to ask something different from us. And sometimes growth doesn't always look like moving forward. I say that a lot. Sometimes growth looks like refusing to give up. Sometimes the win isn't making progress. Sometimes the win is simply just staying in the game. One more day, one more week, one more conversation, one more prayer, one more beginning. Because here's what I've learned life doesn't always require us to be strong. Sometimes life is just asking us to stay. It's just asking us to stay committed to the goals that we want to reach, stay curious about life and how we think, stay open to faith and miracles and opportunities and dreams, stay willing to show up no matter how my day is going, no matter what type of moment I'm in, no matter how hard it gets, basically, just still stay willing, believing and staying long enough to see what happens next. It's like walking up a mountain, basically. If you just are willing to keep going up, not turning back around, not sliding down, but to just keep going up, staying long enough to see how high you can actually go, how far you can go. One thing I've written in my journal multiple times over the years is maybe this isn't the end of the story. Maybe this chapter just feels longer than I expected. And every single time I've looked back on my life, the things that almost broke me eventually became the things that built me. Not immediately, so it wasn't overnight, but it was eventually. That's why I think it's important to stop looking at your life through the lens of what hasn't happened yet. Because if we're not careful, we'll convince ourselves that nothing is working simply because we are not where we want to be. But growth isn't always visible, right? Some seeds spend months underground before anybody sees evidence they're growing. Spiritually, I think that is true for humans as well. Sometimes the work is happening beneath the surface. Sometimes your roots are growing before your flowers appear. And I know that's frustrating because most of us want proof. We want that confirmation. We want guarantees. We want to know that all of this effort is leading somewhere. But faith has never really worked that way. Whatever your faith is in God, the universe, your purpose, or yourself, faith usually asks us to keep moving before we have all the answers. And that is very hard, especially when you're exhausted, lonely, nobody seems to understand what you're carrying. I think that is how a lot of people feel. But I want to challenge something today. What if your job right now isn't to figure out your entire future? What if your job is simply not to abandon yourself in the middle of the process, not to leave yourself behind, not to stop believing in yourself, not to stop caring for yourself, not to stop dreaming, not to stop trying? Maybe your only responsibility right now is to stay connected to yourself long enough to see what's on the other side of that mountain, what's on the other side of this season that you're going through right now. Because the truth is, you can rewrite the route without giving up on the destination. You can change directions. You can start over. You can heal and you can rest. You can ask for help. You can take longer than expected. None of those things mean that you failed. They mean you're human. That's it. And as humans, we aren't meant to do everything perfectly. So it's okay to have to change directions. It's okay to start over. It's okay to keep going, to ask for help, you guys. It's okay for things to take longer than expected, to go at your own pace, because we're meant to learn, we're meant to evolve, we're meant to become. And honestly, I think that's where a lot of us get stuck. We think because the route changed, the dream has to change too. We think because it didn't happen when we thought it would happen, it means it's not going to happen at all. We think because we're 30, 40, 50, or even 60, and we're not where we thought we'd be, somehow we've missed our chance. But who told us that? Where was that written down? Who decided there was a timeline for happiness? There's only one timeline for success. Is there only one timeline for healing? One timeline to finding ourselves? The older I get, the more I realize life is less about staying on schedule and more about staying connected to yourself. Because when you're connected to yourself, you can navigate change. This whole season has really been about evolving and connecting and aligning with ourselves. Because when we're connected, we can survive these hard seasons, we can pivot, and we can rebuild. You can begin anything. And if there's one thing that I hope those who are listening take from today's episode is do not abandon yourself. This world is already going to ask enough of you. Life is already going to challenge you. There will already be people who misunderstand you. Please don't become another person who gives up on you. Don't abandon yourself. Be the person who stays. Be the person who keeps showing up, the person who believes, even when it's messy, even when it's slow, and even when it's hard. Before we wrap up, I want to leave you with a few things that have helped me during seasons when I felt disconnected from myself. Not because they're magical solutions, not because they fix everything overnight, but because sometimes when we're struggling, we don't need a complete life overhaul. Sometimes we just need a few small things to hold on to until we find our footing again. The first thing is stop asking yourself what you need to accomplish today and start asking yourself what you need. Do you need rest? Do you need a walk? Do you need to cry? Do you need to laugh today? Do you need to spend some time in nature? Do you need to call a friend? Maybe you need a break from social media. What do you actually need? The second thing is to create one non negotiable promise to yourself. Not 10, not 20, just one, okay? Just one, uno. Maybe it's drinking enough water. Maybe it's journaling, taking a 10-minute walk every morning, reading before bed. Maybe it's spending 5 minutes in prayer. Whatever it is, one non negotiable promise to yourself. Because when life feels overwhelming, keeping one promise to yourself every day starts rebuilding trust with yourself. That's also an episode. The third thing is to stop waiting for motivation. Motivation is wonderful when it shows up, but it isn't reliable. Some days you're not going to feel inspired. Some days you're just not going to feel confident. And some days you're not going to feel hopeful. But show up anyway. Even if all you have is 10%, it's still movement. Okay? Don't forget that. Write that down. The fourth thing is to pay attention to what nourishes your spirit, not your resume, not your productivity, your spirit. What makes you feel connected? What makes you feel alive? For me, it's journaling, it's my tarot, It's being outside, it's listening to the birds who are still chirping, in fact, this entire episode. It's having quiet moments where I can hear myself think, find the things that reconnect you to yourself and make room for them. And the last thing I want to leave you with is this. Please stop measuring your life only by results. Sometimes growth looks like getting out of bed. Sometimes growth looks like asking for help or setting boundaries. Sometimes growth looks like surviving a season you never thought you'd make it through. Those victories matter too. You don't have to earn your worth through achievement. You are worthy even while you are healing. You are worthy even while you're figuring things out, and you are worthy even while life feels messy. So, if you're listening to this and life feels heavy right now, I want you to hear me when I say this. Please don't give up on yourself. Not now, not in this chapter. Not because things are taking longer than expected, not because you're tired, not because you can't see the whole picture, not because of pain, not because of suffering. The future version of you is counting on the decisions that you're making today. The future version of you is counting on you to keep going. And one day, I genuinely believe you'll look back and realize that this season wasn't the end. It was just the turning point. So, like I said earlier in the episode, whether it's a career pivot, life pivot, just whatever it is that you feel like you're not good enough for and this is just too hard for me. I want to give up. I want to give up on this job. I want to give up on, these fitness goals. I want to give up on this therapy. It's not the end. You don't have to give up. You can rewrite your path. You can reframe what your destination looks like. Okay. And with that, friends, I think that's where I'm going to leave today's conversation. If this episode found you at exactly the right time, if it felt like it was meant for you, I'd love to hear from you. Leave a comment, send me a message. You can share this episode with someone you know who might need a little reminder not to give up on themselves. Because the truth is, a lot more people are carrying heavy things than we realized. And sometimes one conversation, one message, or one podcast episode can remind someone that they're not alone. Okay? So, as always, thank you so much for spending a little bit of your day with me. Thank you for allowing me into your headphones, your morning coffee, your car rides, your walks, your workouts, and all those little moments in between. Take care of yourself this week. Be patient with yourself. Give yourself grace. And whatever you do, don't give up on yourself. Your story isn't over yet. So thank you for listening. Until next time, you guys, I'm your host, Ashley, and you have been listening to I'm Not Gonna Lie. Bye.